And good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to WeBelieveDigital.com. We Believe Digital Studios, broadcasting to you live from downtown Jackson, Mississippi, 60 degrees outside. But as you will hear on tonight's show, things are much, much hotter in Mississippi than 60 degrees. And my name is Chris Young, and welcoming you to the Sizzling in Mississippi show alongside the best co-host that I could ask for today.
Thank you.
Monty Joan Prim. How are you this evening?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm rolling with it.
Hi,
The
Black
glasses.
History Month.
Black History Month. The glasses half full. The oppression is at full throttle.
Yes, it is.
In Jackson at the Capitol building, and so we gotta talk about it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So again, welcome to the viewers. We're really glad you're joining us. We're really glad you see our content here on We Believe Digital. All kinds of different offerings being provided by different folks, different genres. We've got some producers in the studio now, just helping us, guiding us through getting more and more content, so that you can, make us your your on-demand stop, where you can get news, where you can get music, where you can purchase items. A marketplace being installed on the website now. Current events, hot topics, social justice issues, financial stuff, all sorts of different areas of interest. And all this being archived, so you can go back and watch things that you're interested in on your time schedule, on whatever device you choose, because we're archiving everything on Vimeo. So Mati, so much. You wanna start with the over there at that Capitol, where they have that copper eagle with the gold. What do they call it? Gilding?
Yes.
A 15 feet wingspan, that eagle. And what that eagle sees underneath its eyeballs, huh?
It's just plantation politics run amok, and we're suffering, and we're being denied what other people have, which is the right of self-determination.
That's right. Yeah, your autonomy as citizens of a city.
Yes.
Being sucked away, and by bills authored by people, a couple hundred miles north of here.
Right. Why are they so concerned about Jackson in Senatobia? And it's not even they. Why is this one particular politician putting forth legislation regarding Jackson, and he's closer to Memphis than he is to Jackson?
Yeah. Just something else. You have to ask yourself, is it just, I feel like it's racist.
Oh, it is.
But isn't there just some arrogance? Just got to be wrapped up, to author legislation, not one thing, to create an entirely new court district.
Right.
Inside this Capitol Complex Improvement District, usurping the authority of the Hinds County Judicial Complex, right, which is full of elected judges, elected by the people.
Right.
Now you're going to fill up a court district with inferior courts, usurping the cases in the Hinds County courts, and you're going to do that with appointed judges.
Right. And taking tax revenue away from Jackson, once again, about 18%. Is what they estimate.
Yeah.
Something we can't afford to lose.
Yeah, so it just never stops. This HB House Bill 1020, it's passed through committee. As of right now, as best we know, it's can be on its way to the floor, depending on how that works. Not sure exactly what kind of reception it's going to receive when it gets to the Senate. Some of these people that you think maybe can be relied on for a little bit of fairness and equality. Not so sure.
No.
Not so sure.
No, it's too many Republicans and too many people that have an axe to grind.
Right.
Yeah. And you're seeing that the mayor and the city council are united in their position that this is wrong. That area belongs to Jackson.
That's right.
And it needs to remain a part of Jackson.
And here we are in a black city.
Right.
80+% black. And we currently have, for a 1-year period of time, a white Republican president of the city council.
Right.
But he did go along with the resolution,
yes,
opposing this by the city council.
Right.
4 of them showed up for the vote. 3 did not. Stokes, Lindsay, and Griselle were not at the vote on Friday afternoon. But there was 4 there, so they had a quorum, and it was unanimous. Seemingly led by the Republican president of the city council. So something about that was kind of refreshing in some way.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it's just another dig at Jackson, and it just doesn't stop. The oppression is just ongoing. And there's all types of oppression that one can experience. This is political, and it's a power move.
And like starving of resources.
Exactly.
Classic oppression.
Yeah. Starving of resources and starving of authority.
Yeah.
Jackson needs to be able to direct Jackson. We don't need an outside entity coming in and taking a portion of Jackson really away from us. That's
right. Yeah, and this guy that we mentioned, this guy named Trey Lamar from Senatobia,
right.
Northern Mississippi, far closer to Memphis, Tennessee than to Jackson, not only authored this 1,040-page bill to create this new judicial district inside the CCID, which just robs the voting power of people in Hinds County. An estimated 200,000 people, their voices are just stopped.
Yeah, we're silenced.
And also expands this new, Capital Complex Improvement District from 8.7 square miles to something far larger. But where does it expand it? It doesn't expand it into South Jackson or West Jackson. It expands it to where more white people live, which is up in the northeast Jackson. The new district includes the Jackson Country Club. I don't know. I asked a friend of mine earlier today, how many black people you think are members at that country club? And he said he's pretty confident there's at least 3. So, just
wow, okay,
yeah. But when you look carefully at the ground
yes.
that they want to take,
right,
and you put a racial census population overlay over that,
right.
Absolutely what's going on.
Right, this is where all the white people live. Eastover, we're talking about Bellhaven, parts of Fondren. Yeah, and I mean that's where that little kind of 10% lives.
So you're gonna create a new capital city.
Right.
It's gonna be white. It's not gonna be black.
Yeah.
Because these people have no regard for black leadership, for black people, and no regard. We know they have no regard for black people because of the ongoing oppression over the years.
Right.
We know they have no regard for black people when 94% of the state agencies in Mississippi are headed up by Caucasian people,
right.
But yet the black population is conservatively estimated at 40%.
Yeah.
The census says 38%. We're really not buying that.
No, I mean, you can't buy it when you look at the Delta, okay?
Right.
Right. The northern part of Mississippi is majority black, overwhelmingly majority black. And then you're talking about, then you come into central.
Yeah.
And there you go, at least half.
Mm-hmm.
And the southern part is not as populated as central Mississippi and northern Mississippi.
And western central Mississippi, much more black people than eastern central Mississippi when you get over like towards Meridian and all that.
Right. But you still have a significant amount of black people there. And then you still have, even in the southern region, in the coast, there's still ever-present population of black people. It's significant. And then when I look at Trey Lamar and I see that he's from Senatobia, I'm reminded of the fact that James Meredith, was shot in Senatobia
on his march.
To the March Against Fear. He started in Memphis, and as soon as he crossed over into the state of Mississippi and he was in Senatobia, he was shot down. The shooter was in the bushes, and the cops said, okay, go on away or whatever. They didn't arrest him. And he was there holding the smoking gun.
And Mr. Meredith got up out of that hospital bed, 2 days later at the most, and went right back out there on the march.
Right. And in the meantime, what's called the Big Six took over the march to make sure that it would be completed. Mm-hmm. And they started off, near Senatobia. And so you had Martin Luther King, you had Kwame Ture, then known as Stokely Carmichael, and a number of different, Roy Wilkins, so you had a number of different NAACP presence there. And
hard to find a town in Mississippi where you don't have a piece of this ugly history.
No. Every town.
And that's why Mississippi is sizzling, because, the past is the past, except here in Mississippi, it never becomes the past. It's just, we preserve history here like it's treasured, and every time you do something like that, the different acts of preserving history, to my way of thinking, it brings more trauma to people, to generations of people that only live the hellacious side of whatever they're trying to preserve.
Right.
Those 4 columns down is it Port Gibson?
Yeah.
I feel like I've repeated this before, but I want to say $13 million of taxpayer money by Archives and History to preserve these pillars from this old plantation house.
Yes.
Now, help me understand.
I can't really help you to understand that, Chris, because of the fact when you look at how impoverished Mississippi is, why would you spend that type of money on 4 pillars?
Yeah.
Why would you spend another $13 million on ruining Capitol Street?
Yeah. When you have the highest poverty rate in the nation.
Right.
And we'll get into some health issues later, but sure. It's just so many things that the money could be spent on, but that's what they do here. It's just like a different headedness, just a different. It doesn't seem to include fairness and equity, and that's why we say we're sizzling. Mississippi is still burning, and we're just trying to talk to you about that. And another thing too, Mati, on the that same guy, Lamar from Senatobia. Mm-hmm. Now, we've got a 1% sales tax extra here in Jackson that other locales don't have. And we have a 1% sales tax commission,
right,
which, is overloaded by people that don't see. So
they don't live here, and it's such, the way that it's written is that this money must go to infrastructure and
to the water
improvements. Yeah. Well, when I read it today, it said infrastructure, but then I hear other places it's water and it's streets, which either one is.
Well, that's the way it was initially designed. The way I understood it, the way it was initially designed was infrastructure, big I.
Right.
But then this one here says municipal special sales tax, revised use, and what they're saying is shall be solely to pay the cost of repairs, upgrades, and improvements to the municipality's water system and related infrastructure. So not only do you have this 1% tax where people pay an extra here, but then you have this commission that's going to dictate what that is. Now you have a bill being authored by somebody from Senatobia, Mississippi, that's going to say, no. The commission has to use the money for water only.
Yeah.
So we want you to, even though we've neglected you for monetarily for decades and decades.
Right.
With regard to your infrastructure, your water, your sewer system, and other things, we're now going to say, no, you need to use your own money and make sure that goes directly to water. And somebody from far outside this area is orchestrating all that.
Right, right. And I mean, the way that they have it set up, the voting situation, Jackson gets very little input, and the input it gets, it really doesn't matter. It's something like maybe 3 votes against 7.
Yes.
You have the Greater Jackson Chamber organization, Chamber of Commerce organization, that was founded in 1840 and still going strong.
Yeah.
And so influential. And of course, we know what that looks like.
I think we talked about that on the show. Yeah, it doesn't reflect the population.
Reflect the population.
Certainly of Hinds County.
Right. It doesn't.
And then there's another bill, as we're starting to run up on our first break. There's another bill, HB 2889, to create a regional water authority. So what that means is, no, Jackson, you're not going to get to call the shots on what goes on with your water. We're going to regionalize the water. We're going to make a 9-member commission. Now, remember what we just told you about what they're doing with the sales tax commission.
Right.
So, but now they say we're going to make a regional water authority, and that one's authored by somebody from DeSoto. So due north, right up next to the Tennessee line.
Right.
Nowhere near Jackson.
Right. Why? Why is he so concerned about Jackson?
Well, I think he said he had a daughter coming to college here, and there were a few days she had trouble flushing her toilet. So I feel if I read what he said correctly, that makes him really, really invested.
Okay.
Because his daughter couldn't flush the toilet a couple days.
Okay. Well, maybe she needs to go to Auburn or something instead of here.
Maybe they should create, white Christian Republican toilets.
Perhaps.
They would always flush.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting craziness going on. It's always going on here, but right now, in 30 days into this legislative session, it's just the oppression is just on blast, and we're telling you 3 different legislative bills that are all about that, and there's more going on. Paternalistic, racist, taking our own tax money that we're supposed to be allotted from our sales tax to fund this new city inside a city, district inside a district. It's just the most horrendous slap in the face that you can imagine.
Right.
Total disregard. Yeah. If it ever passes, there's going to be court action like you've never seen. So anyway, we have run up against the time, so we'll jump out for a little break. Hope you enjoy the message from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Let's read and learn together. Meet Mason. Written by Sherry Tate. Illustrated by David. Mason is a young, inspired learner. Walk with him as he uses his 5 senses to explore the world around him. Your young one can learn to identify shapes, numbers, letters, and more with Meet Mason. Available now on Amazon.com.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Welcome back to Sizzling in Mississippi. Really glad you're joining us. We do have a call-in number, 1-800-492-5186. If you feel like joining the chat, please do that. I was looking at Equal Justice Institute calendar, as I do every day. On this date in 1902, a mob of 200 white people seizes a 19-year-old man, Thomas Brown, from jail lynches him on the courthouse lawn after he is accused of assault in Nicholasville, Kentucky. So 200 people, they took down Thomas Brown, 200 white people, one black man.
Yes.
One of the hundreds and hundreds of lynchings.
Yes. Now that was 1902.
1902.
Yeah. Well, how about 10 years ago? I wonder if our listeners can tell us what happened 10 years ago tomorrow.
Okay.
That here in Mississippi, and I'm not exactly sure how much we should say about that. How much of a clue should we give on what happened February 7th, 2013, here in Mississippi? Yeah. A kind of
the one with
acknowledgement.
When they found the papers?
Yes. Yeah, as if they were lost.
Yeah, they found the papers. A clerical error.
Yeah.
Just enfranchising.
Yeah.
You know.
And for 18 years.
Yeah, the people that built the state.
Yes. Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, and you know, as we talked earlier about maybe getting into some medical things in this segment here, and are you ready to move on to that, or you
sure.
want to?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's look at that.
And you know, I had this funny thought earlier when we were talking about, having people's authority and autonomy usurped by legislators at the Capitol. And I always have to remember those legislators aren't there, but for the will of the electorate. Right. I always got to remember that. But I find it interesting as we begin to talk about medical issues and the results of a recent Mississippi Mortality Review Committee. I think it's really interesting that our state health director, now our last state health director, Thomas Dobbs, he was at the helm presiding over Mississippi having the highest COVID death rate in the entire nation. And you know what his reward for that was?
What's that? He's
now the head of a prominent public health center at UMMC.
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, I might want to go find a sand and stick my head in it or something and hide for a while. You know, when you're a medical doctor but some more insight is coming because this guy, Dr. Daniel Edney, is the new public health director of Mississippi. And he is saying over and over and over, we can ill afford to continue to not expand Medicaid. You know, we're one of, 10 or 11 states, all red, of course,
right,
that haven't expanded Medicaid.
Right.
We have the postpartum issues, won't expand on that, but this doctor recommending all the time. So maybe I'm way out there on a limb. Maybe this Dr. Thomas Dobbs recommended things to these people to do with regard to public health policy during COVID, and they overrode him. What would you think?
You know, I don't know. I would hope that would be the case. I would hope that he would have honored his oath.
So you think he would have gone to the microphones and said, "Hey, people, I'm the health director. I'm trying to create policies to save lives in the middle of this academic, knowing especially that we have so many people here that are already compromised health-wise to begin with, and gone to the microphones and said, these people are getting in my way, I resign."
Right.
Or something like
that. He didn't do that.
He didn't do any of that.
I never heard anything from him that was contrary to the status quo. And at the same time, we're seeing just horrific statistics. You know, highest infant mortality rate.
Highest infant 50th in the nation. Sizzling in Mississippi. 50th in healthcare. 50th in fetal death rate. 50th in infant death rate, 50th overall life expectancy, 50th COVID death rate, 50th poverty rate. We are sizzling in Mississippi, and we need your help. We need your spotlight on us. We need tools and resources to get this message out there. It's the only lever that can help to that can help to bring about change is just spotlighting it, as much as possible in the broad light of day. Right. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, please call us and show us your support or just your ideas and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi has always been a closed society. It's amazing. For the last 6 years, there's been a 1,000% increase in syphilis amongst pregnant women, which has been very costly because they don't have early detection. They're detected so far along that they have to deliver the baby, and when the baby's delivered, the baby has syphilis. They have to, the child has to stay in the hospital for a longer stay, weeks longer, has a spinal tap, and has an IV of penicillin. And this is so dangerous. I mean, we're talking about infants.
Right. Newborns.
Doing spinal taps on infants.
Right.
Because we can't get early detection for mothers.
All kinds of extra risk.
Yes.
Because we can't address the issue in a preventative way.
Right.
We're not open about that.
No.
We don't want to call it what it is.
Right.
Yeah, it's really another sad and this is going on nationally too. I didn't write down the source, but nationally, I was reading the U.S. is seeing its highest rate of syphilis in the last 20 years. So I apologize for not writing the source down.
Well, the terrible thing about it is that with syphilis, you can be asymptomatic, so you don't even know that you're carrying the disease. But the way that Mississippi is handling it, it reminds me of the Tuskegee experiment where they went in and they refused to treat black men for years and years, just to see how syphilis, what it does to a body, how it attacks a person, and the long-term effects. And and to think that these are medical professionals that are doing this.
Yeah. And what's the latest number you've heard? Something like 38 or 43% of the hospitals in Mississippi are in danger of closing. But if we did expand Medicaid, that would cut that number drastically.
Right.
So apparently those federal Medicaid dollars become integral to the overall ecosystem of healthcare facilities.
Right. And when you think about it here in Jackson, the neonatal intensive care center is no more.
Yeah.
And so if an infant has a health crisis that would warrant that type of treatment, they have to go elsewhere. How?
Right. How does that happen?
Yeah. And, it's amazing how Mississippi loves to wrap itself in its idea that it is a Christian state.
Yeah.
And you're allowing sick children to go through this. You're allowing pregnant women when they're called pro-life.
Oh, they're supposed to be working now with after the Roe decision and all. Now that the state leaders said that we're going to cultivate a culture of life in Mississippi.
Well, that would be new because it's never had one. The culture here is anti-life.
We already told you 50th in all these areas, so it's not a culture. It's not a culture of life.
Education as well.
An education. 43rd.
Yeah.
Last I saw.
Yeah. That's an improvement.
Yeah.
That's
49th in the economy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The racial equity index 50th. And I was just thinking when you were saying Christians, maybe think Christians in name only, because remember our dear former president, Mr. Trump. Remember remember, he used to accuse people. One of his ways of attacking people that didn't line up exactly the way he wanted them to line up was to call them Republican in name only.
Right, Rhino. But here we're Sino, Christian in name only. Right.
Because, every bio that you look up on the website for the Mississippi legislature, every last one of them, I mean, I don't know if I've seen one exception that doesn't include in the bio that he or she is of the Christian faith, or he or she attends Methodist church or Catholic, whatever it happens to be. But it seems like that's always highlighted in the bio. But we were talking earlier with one of the producers here, and he was just saying, it's name only. It's just they don't practice it at all.
No.
How many of them do you see screaming from the rafters of the Capitol that we have the highest poverty rate in the entire nation? Right. Have you ever seen them scream from the rafters?
They never deal with that. It's part of the status quo. Yeah. Because people are more vulnerable the poorer they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, more malleable.
Yeah. Oh, yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And I mentioned earlier this Mississippi Mortality Review Committee, and one thing, I got to write a letter to Dr. Edney and see what we can do about this lag time. But apparently through the most recent review committee said that 43% of the mortality in Mississippi is directly related. I think there was 93 cases, and 43% directly related to pregnancy. Yes. 87.5 of those cases are deemed preventable.
Right.
Like you're talking about with syphilis.
Right.
And 57% of those deaths occurred during pregnancy or within the 60. So that means 43% of those deaths are happening after the 60 days. And that's what the carve out for Medicaid postpartum expansion, that would provide babies always covered, no matter what. But poor moms are not covered.
Right.
And so and so their coverage, their postpartum coverage stops at 60 days in Mississippi. And if they could just carve that out to make it last for a year, it would do wonderful things to reduce the mortality, but they just won't do that. Right. For the last 2 or 3 years, the Speaker of the House, a guy by the name of Philip Gunn, who's no longer running for election, people speculate why that is, but he just lets it die on the vine. Doesn't even bring it up for discussion with the members of the House of Representatives. And by the way, out of all these maternal deaths in Mississippi, take a guess. You're going to be really, really shocked. Black moms, 4 times higher death rate than white moms in Mississippi. Yeah. So if you're poor, you're screwed in Mississippi. And if you're poor and black, you're doubly screwed in Mississippi.
Well, yeah, quadrupling.
Yeah. Corey. Yeah, thank you. And this is why we say we're sizzling in Mississippi. And sometimes I say, well, in terms of solutions, well, what are we offering? I think so far on this show, Mati, I think what we've offered so far is just the basics of humanity, fairness, equity, autonomy, finding ways to reduce or eliminate discrimination, oppression, and racism. It's a tough, tough climb. This is why we're always asking for help. But that's what this show is about. The show is it's about trying to highlight all the things that are going on. We can't not do that. To not do that, does it make me think of the King quote about being silent? You won't be remembered for, shouldn't have brought it up when I can't fully remember it. So we can't be silent on it, and that's why we created the show, and that's why we try to talk about this. And if something can change, man, oh man, we are going to bring it to you as quickly as possible. If people can see their way to doing something different, and take different actions, and begin to embrace, love their brothers and sisters, embrace their brothers and sisters rather than oppress them and alienate them.
But
Wouldn't
Mississippi doesn't know how to do that.
Don't know how.
It's never done it before, and it's not. Think about how horrific it has been here. Mm-hmm. Think about Natchez, Mississippi. Where they had the trading post, and you're trading Africans as
right there at the river
property. Yeah, being sold down the river. When they talk about that, they're talking about Natchez. Mm-hmm. The second largest trading post in this country, and you go from that to a plantation, which is abject hell.
Right.
Yeah. Generation after generation, no name is yours. Your children are not under your authority. You can be traded for anything at any time. My child, let's see. People are traded as wedding gifts. How does that occur?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We don't have the laptop out here today. Any chat coming in?
You do have a couple chats coming in. I'll get that to you in one second.
So, and how many times have we heard about the Mississippi Delta? Just a famous place for so many reasons. The Delta is 200 miles long. The Delta is 87 miles wide. That's 7,000 square miles. And 6 or 7 months ago, Burnley General Hospital closed their NICU. So the next nearest NICU is 200 miles, is leaving the Delta with no NICU, nothing there in the Delta for preemies. And the next nearest one is I think is going to be here. To Jackson.
Okay.
For the entire Delta, 7,000 square miles. How do you make decisions? How do you let stuff like that happen? While at the same time bragging about a $4 billion surplus this year, and they want to give tax cuts to the wealthy. Yeah. But they'll let the preemie unit in the Delta. Thank you. Let the preemie unit in the Delta close up. It's just madness, Mati. Thank you, Mr. Williams, writing in. Sales Tax Commission. Oh boy, I think I made a wrong click here. 38 rural hospitals in jeopardy of closing. Political partisanship with Medicare by calling it Obamacare all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Affordable Care Act.
That's the whistle, right?
Right.
As long as they say
that's a dog whistle.
Even Affordable Care Act has become a dog whistle, right? But then, but down here they'll just say flat out Obamacare. Well, there you go.
Right.
There you go. Trail of Tears, Mr. Williams reminding us.
Right.
So thank you so much for joining in on the chat. Another thing, I guess we're just going to do a short third segment. Ariel, or we're already there. So why don't we just go for a few more minutes, and then because we're already at 7:15.
Okay.
But we incarcerate more people in Mississippi than anywhere else, and we do that at a rate of 3 black people to every 1 white person. That's Mississippi. That's why Mississippi is sizzling.
And there's even preferential treatment once those individuals are incarcerated. Preferential treatment for the white inmates versus the black inmates.
Well, what's an example of that comes to mind?
Well, if there's if a white person,
believe it or not, don't doubt it.
Yeah, feels bullied.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. They have redress.
They can show their timeout card.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they may not be released, but they'll get preferential treatment and be protected more so than a black inmate would be.
My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. That's the
Visitation
first time hearing that.
Is very strange.
Doesn't surprise me in the least.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me in the least. Well, we thank you so much for joining us. We're coming to you now on a regular basis on Monday evenings at 6:30. Always trying to bring you the latest that's going on here and examples of why we're sizzling in Mississippi, why Mississippi is still burning. And we have this forum where we have a black female and this white male, and we've established regard for each other over the time we've known each other, and we're able to just sit and talk about things where a lot of times that's not, and learn from each other sometimes, and that you don't see that going on a lot, and so it's kind of like modeling behavior,
right?
And wouldn't that be great? And you're the one that told me you can't find any podcast that does anything like this.
No.
So, now they have those ones like on cable and stuff, but then you got people talking over each other, and
it's adversarial.
You got the one black person and the three white people,
right.
and the two white people stay for the next segment, and the black person disappears,
right?
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't do that here.
No,
okay.
No, we don't.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we thank the producers for putting up this show for us this evening. Visit We Believe Digital podcast and see the things as the website. A lot of new things going on the website. Check out WeBelieveDigital.com. If you have any thoughts for your own show, if you're running a political campaign, you want us to shoot commercials, we do all that stuff at We Believe Digital, and we do it really, really well. So give us a call. Let us work with you. Find something that works for you, and use this studio to your benefit. And again, thank you for joining us, and have a great week. Stay safe out there. We'll see you next Monday night.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking on the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around, no, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom land. Ain't gonna let discrimination turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Gonna let discrimination turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking.